Past perfect verb phrases with to be. You had been sad. We had been lost. It had been dark. I had been happy. It had been cold. I had been ready. You had been shy. We had been loud. I had been there. You had been here. You had been late. She had been kind. You had been busy. He had been smart. He had been angry. It had been quiet. He had been early. I had been sleepy. You had been tall. She had been busy. He had been tired. It had been sunny. You had been tired. You had been found. You had been awake. He had been asleep. We had been a team. I had been reading. It had been sleepy. We had been hungry. It had been playing. We had been resting. It had been snoring. We had been friends. They had been noisy. We had been dancing. They had been happy. They had been bored. I had been learning. We had been friends. She had been a chef. I had been at school. You had been at work. She had been at home. I had been a student. You had been thirsty. He had been in class. You had been at home. She had been excited. You had been writing. They had been crying. She had been singing. He had been a doctor. She had been on time. He had been speaking. They had been outside. You had been watching. She had been a singer. You had been teaching. She had been dreaming. You had been laughing. They had been waiting. It had been at the zoo. We had been in the car. I had been to London. You had been a teacher. You had been a teacher. He had been to Paris. He had been explaining. They had been neighbors. He had been at the park. We had been to Canada. She had been to Tokyo. They had been listening. They had been neighbors. We had been at the party. It had been in the garage. They had been in the park. I had been in the kitchen. She had been at the store. You had been in the office. They had been at the beach. It had been to Australia. She had been understanding. You had been in the garden. She had been in the bedroom.